This is Nathalie Kalbach. She is our amazing, fantastic mixed media artist that we try to corral for us, but she instead goes all around the world teaching all kinds of wonderful things using our stamps. We love that part. So Nathalie, good morning. What are you going to show us?
Good morning. So good to see you guys. So I'm here to show you my new stamp sets with Stampendous. And we came out with these sets that have a foam stamp, for example this bird stamp, with two sides. You have a solid side and a pattern side, and then you have a rubber stamp side, which fits perfectly, by the way, on the solid side of the foam stamp. And then this one also has a stencil included, and there are missing parts. They're somewhere hiding. You can actually pop out those pieces in the stencil, and then you have mask with them. So that's in the bird set. Then we have the urban shape. Let me get that thing together. So you have a solid side, which is dirty right now. You have the pattern side, and then you have the rubber stamp side. So again, it fits perfectly on the solid side so that you can stamp and stack on top of each other. I will show you a sample in a second. Then we have the elephant.
I love him.
Solid side, pattern side. Look how thick this beautiful foam stamp is.
Gorgeous.
There's so many possibilities in using that with paint. You can use it with water-soluble crayons. And you can use it on your creative palette, which is a lot of fun too, and reverse the pattern actually. And then we have the rubber stamp elephant, which comes with this stencil.
So pretty.
I will show you the fashion theme later. So I painted this background. Let me show you the elephant. So I'm gonna use the stencil first. I laid down some paint. I just dabble around a little bit in my art journal right now. But what I want to do is I'm gonna use the stencil, and I love to use stencils with cosmetic sponges because you get a really nice and even and not seeping through effect. The trick is to dab on the paint and then dab off the paint, so the less paint you have on your cosmetic sponge, the crisper and nicer your stenciling goes. And then I just dab this through my stencil here, and you can go and just do a little bit here and there. I like to do that just to get a hint, or you can do, everything very late. But I like this effect when you're just like let it go and be not too uptight where the pattern goes. So
and the great thing about all the pieces of all these sets is it's just water cleanup. You just throw it in a pan of water and bam, just easy, especially with acrylic paints.
Or you're like Nathalie and you don't clean your stencils when you use it with acrylic paint. That's really bad, but you can do that too.
Right.
So, but you have to clean your foam. That is a very important thing. So here's the elephant, for example. What I always do is I'm going to use a water mister, and before you put the first paint on top, when your foam is like very dry, you want to mist it up a little bit. The reason why you want to do that is because when you then put the first time your paint on top, the paint doesn't just like seep right into the foam and dries up, especially in a very ventilated, air-conditioned area. So just like make sure, that you have a little bit of working time. And then I'm using, what color, let me see, something fun and funky. I'm going to use this pink. So I'm in a pink mood right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm using some acrylic paint. I'm putting it on a palette. And then I like to do this with a brayer. Doesn't matter what brayer. You can use a big one. You can use this tiny one. And I roll out a little bit of this paint. And then what I do is I'm going over and I just mixed it up with a little bit of the orange that I used with my stencil. And a foam stamp never gives you like a perfect image, but if you make sure that the paint is nicely applied at the edges of your foam stamp, then you make sure that the shape is defined, and you can apply it lightly, right? You can roll it out, but I like if I have a little bit of texture on my elephant. And then let's stamp this little guy on here.
And on that foam side, of course, you could apply paint through the stencil. You could, do a lot of other things too. These sets are so versatile.
There's
so
like
much.
literally like 100 million,
100 million at least.
more,
maybe more
possibilities, and I will come up and show you more videos in the future, promise.
Yes.
So look here, it's not a perfect image. If you're very, very uptight about it, you could like just go back, roll some more paint on there, and you layer the elephant on top where it was before, because you can nicely see where it was, and just like stamp that image or part of the stamp again, and then voila, it's a little bit more covered up, right? So how do we clean that? I'm so glad you asked.
How do you clean that?
I usually just take a baby wipe, make it really nice, non-alcohol baby wipe the paint off, then take a dry. Okay, so now this is dried, and that's why we're doing the new angle.
Yay.
So this is the elephant rubber stamp. I'm going to use some archival ink on top of it this time. You can use all kinds of inks, of course, but I want to have some nice juicy black. And you can mount those. They're clean rubber stamps, so you can mount them on the acrylic handle. I don't have one. They didn't give me one. I'm just kidding.
I see how we are.
I can use it with my hands. I like if it's not a perfect image, but of course if you distribute even pressure, then you get a nice, crisp, and perfect image. So I juiced it up. I take my stamp. I line it up on top of my elephant that I stamped before. And here we go. And then I just like, pretend there was a handle, okay? Press it down. And here is the stamped image. And there you have the elephant. So let me show you real quick some other things that I did so far. Not necessarily finished pages, but here you can see how that worked with the bird. You have the solid foam, and then the rubber stamp of the bird on top of it, right? And then here's the pattern side of the flying bird.
Nice.
On this side here. What else do we have? I did a little cityscape here. Again, solid yellow acrylic paint underneath, and then the rubber stamp on top of it with some scribbles. And then we have, let me try to find more. Here's the pattern side of the foam stamp. So it's just like a long skiddy skyline. And this is a great start for an art journaling page. Some would say it's almost done, and might be almost done. I have to decide later. Here we have the elephant again, the pattern side of the foam stamp. The same thing that I did before with you guys on the video, but here I stamped with black, and then I used the white ink on top.
Nice.
And this is the stencil, right? And then what else do we have? Let me show you actually the stamp set that I haven't showed you yet, and that is the Fashion Dame. So the Fashion Dame does not come with a foam stamp, but it's still a cool set. It comes with a stencil. This is the stencil pattern that you see here that you can get through the set. And then I'm just obsessed with paper dolls. I was very obsessed with paper dolls when I was a kid. So, and I love to use some people in my art journal. So I wanted to have something that I can use in my art journal that is like repeating. So you can stack everything that is in you. You can stamp right on top of here, and then you can stamp over with the jacket, and you can stamp over with the skirt. But you can also stamp it on paper, cut it out. So in the sample here that you see, I actually stamped her on top, and then I made her skirt. And then I stamped on paper here, and I made her pants, and then I put the jacket on top, and then here I stamped everything on one piece of paper, and then cut everything out and glued it on the page. So there's a lot of possibilities on using the Fashion Dame, and it is actually my favorite stencil of all the kits we've ever done.
Yeah.
So
it's a fantastic stencil.
Thank you, Laura. So I hope you like those sets. And,
we do. We love
I
them.
can't wait to see what you're doing with them.
Thanks for sharing with us, Natalie.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.